Is there approval of the agenda?
Move as such.
Okay, moved by Director Parks. Is there a second? I mean, Director Clark, is there a second? Sorry. Farmers.
Yeah, put me down Parks a second. Gee, I didn't know you looked so good.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Who
motion
did the
passed.
second?
Willis.
Okay, thank you.
Item C is public comment. I don't see anybody from public on Zoom. I'm running late. No worries. On pages 2 and 3 is the approval of the minutes from the February 25th Building and Planning meeting.
Move to accept.
Okay, there's a motion by Director Clark,
One second.
second by Director Elliott. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, project update. Bob, will turn it over to you, sir.
Okay,
Page 4.
yeah. Let's turn to that so I don't repeat myself too much. Okay, so I reached out to FEMA via our consultants because obviously they had said they would probably have it to us by end of February, and now we're nearing the end of March. So I reached out to them, and this was the response I got. It says, we heard back from FEMA that they completed the final financial review with the RFI response we submitted at the end of last month. And the sub-application is now pending signature. But they are unable to provide an estimated award date or timeline because the agency is undergoing program delivery compliance reviews to ensure alignment with all White House directions and executive orders. So thank you, Mr. Trump. He's holding up our FEMA grant.
Yeah.
No, here's the reason you got it,
Well,
because Biden pushed it out there in December.
Well, anyway, that was just tongue in cheek. Anyway, no, so it's there, it's ready. I think they're having to prove that every dollar sent out is being sent out to a legitimate.
We're real, we're legitimate. There's some of those things, I've seen some of them.
No, I understand. But obviously FEMA is being required to show proof of the legitimacy of the money being sent out. So that is not going to.
Question.
Yes.
So I'm guessing we're not going to get the funding in time for the plans to not have expired. Can we get another extension?
I already got a year's extension, so we're good till next April.
Really?
Yes.
So 26?
Already filed.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
already approved by each kind.
Okay.
Reasoning is
Good
question.
job.
Says April 25th.
Yes. Oh, that's a typo on my part.
Okay, all right.
April of 2026.
Good, okay.
Thank you.
So that takes the
Spell check
pressure, that
mistake
takes the
that I put the
pressure
wrong
off.
year down.
All right, good.
I apologize. I looked down and saw that too, and it's like, that's my typo. And I
Okay.
missed it.
Which was a typo, the word part of it or the digital part?
The year, the number, the year, the number. Our plans are approved and good till April of 2026.
Okay, that's
Yes.
good news.
All right, so that's the status update on the master plan. And so, I mean, the good news is that we're almost there. It's just awaiting this compliance review.
We're almost there to maybe have to stop it if we can't afford it.
That's right. Okay. So administration building. Suite C is 95% done. We have some minor electrical and data jacks to just punch down the data jacks, and we relocated some electrical outlets, so we have junction boxes in the ceiling to just make the connections. And we are putting the ceiling tile in this week. And so at that point, when that's done, probably in about 1 week, that suite will be done and ready to move into. And so then my assumption is the next is we'll start on Suite D, which is with the home of education. And that we have like one wall to finish in there and some T-bar work and a lot of painting and carpet and all that stuff.
We're able to do that on our own.
Yes. Now I do pay, we purchased the carpet from Bakersfield Flooring because they had the best price. To install the carpet in Suite B, I paid Isabella Flooring $6,300. Got ready to do Suite C and contacted them, and he says, we have retired and we no longer have
The
insurance.
installers.
Well, the installers are all the same, no matter who, but they aren't carrying insurance anymore. So the installers would not be insured. So I said, sorry. He says, so I can't do your work because it's a requirement. And he said, contact the owner of Moffett. So I contacted him, and he did give me a price, $6,600 to install the carpet in Suite C. And so, but he also said, I don't have workers' comp insurance.
What?
He's doing all this work in the valley with no insurance. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
And so I said, I'm sorry. He says, well, if you have a check in hand, that we'll come and do the work quick and you can hand me the check. And I says, no. If one of your guys got hurt on the job,
We're liable.
Yes. And so I said, sorry, appreciate your input. So I approached Bakersfield Flooring. They came out 2 days later and installed it for $4,300, $4,369 or something. Like
Wow.
that. Yes.
So they're insured and it was $2,000 less?
Yes. Going local is not always the best bet.
It pays to get multiple bids.
Well, and then when we chose the carpet, we had got multiple bids and Bakersfield Flooring was the lowest price. I've used them for 30 years. So. Anyway.
Good.
So anyway, so we saved some money. And the floor and the carpet's all in and it looks great. They did the entire project in one day.
Wow.
Good. They brought up like 8 guys. Wow. And knocked it out. So. All right. So that's where we're at on the admin building.
You have to actually change your 30 years to 40 years now because you've been working here 10 years.
10 year, I know. Time does fly.
You got to change your 30 year.
Yeah.
Question on that building. For 4 years, I've been asking about that lot next door. It's gonna get crowded.
Yep. Mhm.
Tim, 4 years ago, Tim says,
I
don't
just
worry,
gave
Gene,
the
I'll take it.
information to John. John reached out to her yesterday and left a message. He's expecting a call back from her.
I gave the information of who owns it and all the information to Heidi, and Heidi has John working on it because Tim's not available right. So it's in the works.
Gene, what do you think if I were to take my tractor and my rotary cutter over there, just cut that down and
Just use it.
started using it anyway, would anybody ever be the wiser?
Nobody would complain. They'd love it because, in fact, whenever you talk to them, say, if you don't want to sell it, we'll go ahead and take the weeds down and use it. And that way, just for using,
Right.
that would be a reasonable thing to
Keep it
do.
maintained.
Yeah.
It's a lady.
I don't mind doing that.
I forget what town she lives in. It's up in the Central Valley, Northern Central Valley, if I remember
Yes.
right.
Forgiveness instead of permission.
My memory's just,
Right. I would take the weeds down if you.
813 number.
yeah, it's,
either-
anyway, she lives up towards the Bay Area.
The other thing on that building, those signs are an eyesore from hell. The one that's abandoned that we probably would have used at one time. The bowling alley sign,
The one thing I haven't done is to reach out to Scott Kissick to find out what agreement his father had with the bowling alley for that sign to go in. In other words, we didn't receive, I don't think we received anything as part of the official documents of purchasing the
we would
building
have had to.
that gives them an easement to have the sign on our
No, we
property.
had a title. It'd have to be. Scott should have
If it
known.
was officially done. And so I will check with Scott on that. I reached out
If it wasn't strictly done, cut it down.
I reached out.
All the paperwork from when we purchased the property.
Yeah, we'll have to look at it because I did talk to Scott this week or last week regarding another issue, but I didn't think to ask him about that sign.
He's not gonna know.
He has a really good memory of a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he wasn't even born when they're putting there.
But would it matter if it's not part of whatever thing?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, we would want to be a decent neighbor. So if we wanted to take it down and they have no right to have the sign there, it would be nice to have a meeting with the owner of the bowling alley, she and her dad, I believe, because that is, I mean, they may assume that they have some right to the sign, but that's what
Even
we've
if they
got to
don't, they
research.
could if they cleaned the damn thing up. If they update it where it didn't look like shit.
Or, you know, say, hey,
Which side of the bed did you get up on this morning?
Well, obviously the upper sign is theirs and the lower sign is ours. And I removed the signage off of that because obviously it was advertising the church. So I removed that. But yeah, it's not the greatest sign.
Well, and if we decide and we put a new sign up or whatever, and they could put something on there that's, you know, maybe not
Sure.
the big cocktail sign, even though that's when I go, but,
Well, you know, I mean, it's a great sign for them. I've been working down there and people will pull in and say, is this the bowling alley? I says, no, you got to go around this way. So,
it does look like a bowling alley, doesn't it?
yeah, it's a big old long building. Anyway, so we will pursue that as to who owns or
It's
what
such a
right do
nice
they
building.
have.
It is, it's out.
Yeah, we need to know.
well,
Regardless if
they
it's
have
legal or
used
not,
that,
we can make it
like
legal
antique,
if they'll clean it up and make it look nice.
patina.
Just
Maybe they would like to have it in front of their
Yeah.
building.
All right. So anything else on the admin building?
There is a TV show that repairs these old neon signs. So.
There is.
So the next project in the building is the,
Will be the
The
suite
education
B for
space.
education. Yeah.
so once that's completed, then this will be empty?
Yeah.
This will be able to be.
Essentially, yes. In essence, yes, but I want to go, okay, so let's step back a little to the previous item because I forgot something I would like to discuss with everybody. And that is our plan originally that we've kind of been talking about is administration, if we proceed with the seismic project. Administration was going to move to the house.
Right.
And then HR was going to move to Suite E.
Oh.
Okay. But the cost of building Suite E into what they need is way more than I can do for 25,000. So I can't touch it. And the cost to have a contractor do it would be, again, outrageous.
200,000, yeah.
Right. So Heidi and I have been brainstorming a little bit.
I was fine.
I got to blame it a little bit on somebody, but we know she had very good input.
It almost had credibility there.
Yeah, well, the reason I mentioned her name is she had very good input. Okay, that's what I want to say. Okay, so because we said, okay, well, where are we going to move HR to if we're going to move admin to there? And then it was like, well, what about, okay, we only have a few staff over in that Leho building, the one next to the clinic. If we relocated them and took that building and made that administration and meeting rooms, we would need to purchase it from Leho. But we can get it for the appraised value, which is going to be, okay, then let's go a little further. Retail pharmacy, I'm jumping around here, but these are all tied together. Retail pharmacy is an eyesore. We know it, it's not big enough. To jump down to there, the existing retail pharmacy is 1,200 square feet.
Wow.
So John and Carrie and I and Suda and I forget who all met with, yeah, and Tim, Mark. Calling everybody by the wrong name is rubbing off on me.
That was me yesterday.
Yeah. Anyway, so we all met with a company for retail pharmacy on a robot that fills the prescriptions. And we met with them. On one side of it, you stocked like 200 and some odd drugs.
240.
And then you input the data for the patient, and even through the night while you're closed, it's filling these and labeling them and getting them all ready for you.
One of those people was Ross too.
That's right, you were there, yes. So anyway, so I got to thinking, all right, we had talked about a triple wide modular on the lot down next there, but that was going to be about $1 million. So 1,200 square feet, 2,160 square feet. Suite E is 1,740 square feet. If we did a minor renovation of Suite E, which I can do in-house because it'd be less than 25 grand, we could have a drive-up window. we could have a small lobby with a few little things and enough space with a robot in there to handle everything that they need, and they're in a new home. Now we take the old retail pharmacy and we clean it up a bit and do a little remodeling inside and move the people from Leho's building down there, freeing that up to be administration, meeting rooms, and et cetera for the project
Okay.
for less than $1 million.
Right now could also go into the
HR bill.
the HR building on the corner, because we already
Yes.
own that,
Right.
but it keeps everybody more centrally
Yeah.
located too.
So we would spend less than $1 million of building a new retail pharmacy. And it would meet the needs of multiple projects.
Part of what prompted the conversation is that this trailer is gonna have to disappear at some point.
Right.
And
Right.
so when it does, where are we gonna have meeting space?
Yes.
So if they were talking about all of us moving up to the accounting office or where HR is now, there's no meeting space there.
Not,
We're
even,
talking
even if you
about-
convert the garage.
Where would we put the command center for like an incident?
Hmm.
And so we're just trying to figure out like how we could sort of consolidate things, but the Leho building has room for offices and meeting space.
I forgot to look up its square footage, but it's in the neighborhood of like 5,000 square feet.
I wanna
It
say
doesn't really have a
something.
big open space for a meeting like
But
this.
walls can come down.
There is
Very large lobby, and
Yeah.
if we took out some of those other areas, we could make a bigger meeting space than we have here.
I have the construction drawings for that building, so I know which walls are bearing and which are not. And, I've got all those on file on my computer.
Your last option, you should have done it 4 years ago. You had the option to do it then. The building, to put the pharmacy in that building, put the drive-through there. It's pure, I'd like to make a motion, we hire somebody that knows what the hell they're doing.
Go right ahead.
Never mind, I know what side.
I'm talking about with a pharmacy. I'm not talking about construction. I'm talking about retail pharmacy.
The board didn't decide to do that at the time, and to hold Bob responsible for that really isn't fair. And it's not productive. What do you want from that? What do you want from that conversation? Do you feel better about it?
It keeps moving, it keeps going, and nothing's happening.
What do you mean nothing's happening? Oh my God, look around.
Oh, I'm talking about the pharmacy. What's happening for the last 4 years in pharmacy?
It needs attention. It's only important now because of the
they did take 3,000 more new people on.
because of the
Script, yeah.
closure
3,000
and
more
turn bill,
scripts.
which was beyond our
In
control.
the last 6 months.
Right.
It's
So
only been 6 months. I thought it's close to a year now.
now, 6 months. And we're trying to come up with a solution that can happen quickly. And putting them in Suite E. I could even jump doing Suite D and just jump into Suite E and complete that and get this thing here and get them moved fairly quickly. I'm just saying, I think it has merit.
Now, the robots, are they new technology
Nope.
or we would want the latest, wouldn't we?
Well, it's established.
It's
technology.
established technology. It's not old technology. It's established long enough that we know it's not going to be a problem. They have many, many, many units in service.
And the important thing on the particular technology that we looked at is, we always ask like, well, how long is this supposed to last? What's the end of life date for this? When's the new thing going to come out? And there is no end date for this particular product. Like
There's
they're committed to this.
not even a perceived end date of X amount of years way down the road.
So on that
this
sense,
machine.
it's new technology that it's not just going to be by the wayside.
What we don't know yet about the robot is if it's really worth the investment
Right.
versus
They claim it's going
pharmacy.
to save about 3 FTEs.
I thought they said 1.5.
They claim 1.5. Suda claimed that it would save potentially 2.5.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So
So
Yeah.
we letting people
Would we
go.
have, would we have to get a permit
Well,
to
that's
go
kind of
retail pharmacy?
sucky.
that is outside of my knowledge and experience as far as moving the retail pharmacy over. That would have to
Okay,
be.
let's have one conversation. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm done. Quit talking to me during the meeting.
I was only answering your.
Well, Bob, continue then, but we'll come back.
Okay.
I think you had a valid point. I just want to make sure we don't have too much crosstalk.
So obviously, someone with a knowledge would have to approach, I'm assuming, the Board of Pharmacy
That's a big
To see-
component.
to see what it would take to move from the address we're in to the address next door.
Hmm.
That would need to be looked into.
It's zoned right.
Yeah.
The problem is, if we have to get a permit, they might want better parking.
And that all has to be looked into. But I think it's a good option. I'm not
Well,
saying
those
it's
are
end all
the
be all.
sort of things that keep putting us behind in different, making different moves. It takes so long. I have learned that. It takes so long for the permits and the answers back. You think it was like Wells Fargo delivering the mail still.
So do we want to say, do we want to come up with who's going to approach the Board of Pharmacy? Should that be SUDAS? I mean, who should that be our head pharmacist here?
Well, I don't know about our head pharmacist here because he's not over SUDA, but I think maybe administratively we should reach out to the Board of Pharmacy.
Yeah. Michael's a good resource for pharmacy to maybe help with that. I'm just saying we need to do that first to find out if it's a viable.
Feasible,
It
right?
doesn't hurt to have the conversation. How's that?
Yes. So we
Then
will
the signs would probably need to go at that point. Because it would be a driveway through the.
Correct.
Drive-through.
well, and we would probably have to relocate the propane tank just a bit
Yeah.
in order to make that
That'll be
drive
fine.
work.
They can squeeze by.
We just put bigger bollards around it.
We could even put it on that other lot. That would,
Well, the line can go that way.
I have another question too.
Yes.
But I don't want,
Then we'll go
I know
to
you were next.
No, I'm good.
Catherine and Ross.
I would just my concern was about employees, letting it, employees go. I mean, that's always a concern.
Oh, with the
so,
robot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a fairly high attrition rate at retail pharmacy anyway. So if that were to take place, that could solve the problem just naturally without having to do it. I don't know exactly what we would do, but that is how it is.
It does seem that way.
You know, and-
Pharmacy
and-
techs kind of come and go.
What I was saying with Catherine was, you don't necessarily have to have that robot to make that transition happen.
Transition.
And
No, I just think that it could speed up the process of filling.
And that's good too.
prescriptions.
It's just, it's
Yes.
just kind of,
Well, it's not like it's gonna eliminate half the staff in the place. I think you remember right.
Yes.
They were saying it eliminates 1.5 FTEs. Basically, someone has to know this thing thoroughly. They have to keep the drugs stocked on the backside so that they don't ever run out. And then there's some sort of checks and balances processes. You pull them out of the other side that they are the right prescription.
Yeah, there needs to be some type of verification.
Right. But that's all established within their procedures. And there's an annual maintenance fee on the.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was like 12,000 a year.
Yeah,
$1,000
$12,000 a year, and they take care of everything. So I just think it has, because it just seems to me that when I go to Rite Aid and they're filling more, appears to be that they're filling more prescriptions than we are because of the volume of bags and rows of bags that they have hanging to be picked up. And there's never more than 5 people in there.
Okay.
I don't know if they have a better system than we do that's less employee hourly driven. I don't know. But it's
You know how
not my
they're
area
always
of
unhappy in
expertise.
there? There's somebody back there with a whip.
Well, nobody says it's fun to work at regular pharmacy. I'm only saying is that they seem to be able to produce a
Yeah.
lot of prescriptions
Yeah.
with
A lot less
with a lot less people. So they must have some processes that work more efficiently
There
than
must
what
be.
we're doing.
Yeah, there must be.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm not saying what we're doing is wrong. I'm just saying the process we have requires more bodies.
well, and I've been in there, sorry, and sometimes there's 2 or 3 pharmacists in there.
At Rite Aid, I've seen 2,
Yeah.
but the others are techs.
3. Well, I've actually seen 3 pharmacists and one would be usually doing
Yeah.
like the shots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think they overlap in
Well,
their,
and we have a couple pharmacists down here too.
yeah,
So,
so.
yeah.
but my point was, I wasn't going directly to you, I was going directly to us.
Yeah.
We haven't performed.
Well,
And
and yeah,
we need to get somebody that knows what the hell they're doing. We don't know. We're guessing they got 2 pharmacists, we got that, what would really work?
understand. Okay, so
I think Ross had no more.
Yeah, one other concern about this conceptual plan.
Mhm.
The Leho building.
Mhm.
I like the concept.
Mhm.
My only concern is, are we better off leaving that as clinical space? Because if we need more clinical space someday, we're gonna have to rebuild it somewhere else. It's licensed now as
Yeah.
clinical space.
Except
Technically licensed. I mean,
not that we can use. And let me stay back to another issue. Yes, you are right. It is clinical space as defined for a private physician to come in and see patients. It cannot be a licensed clinic under the hospital's jurisdiction because it doesn't meet the requirements of CDPH for hospital-owned clinics. And it's very, very expensive to renovate it. We literally have to saw cut up the entire floor, run all new sewer lines underneath in cast iron instead of the ABS that they're running now. And we have to all the power for the areas of a patient care cannot be in EMT or into Romex, which is what they currently are. They all have to be run in EMT. And so we have to just gut the building and almost completely rebuild it in order to open a hospital clinic in that building. We are grandfathered on the other clinic prior to that, with the exception when I did the expansion years ago. And they said, oh, you're going to have to bring the whole building up to OSHPD 3. And so I was in a meeting at CDPH in Bakersfield. And so I says, okay, so sign this paperwork that says that and we'll close the clinic. I says, I can't do that because I have to close the clinic for a year while I gut it and tear it all apart and rebuild it. And they said, how about we will not require the architect to sign off that the building is OSHPD 3 at the end of the project? And I said, thank you very much. Now we can proceed.
Okay.
So there's the challenge of saying it's a clinic building because it isn't under.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You can still use it as a clinic. It's just you can't have it as a rural health clinic. So we've had other non-OSHPD buildings where we've seen patients in the past, but the financial reward is really difficult. So it'd be much harder to be successful without it being a certified RHC like Bob's talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Greg is right.
Is that the old FMC clinic that we had for a while?
Greg,
the one
with,
right next to our clinic, it's the Leho's other building.
Okay.
with the drying up of the non-governmental agencies, the money's gonna be dried up. So we will probably get more business out of that situation rather than the schools opening up their own facilities and things like that, right?
Greg, you
Had a
said
question.
I couldn't hear that all.
The non-governmental agencies that the school has been getting quite a bit of funds for. And part of the funds were for them to provide some medical facilities for students. That money's going to not be flowing like water like it has been. Will that give the hospital or clinic or business, or what will happen? What's your give on that? Your take?
I think that there's plenty of business to go around right now, honestly. There's so much care that, people are going down into Bakersfield because there's not enough. That what the schools are doing, they're trying to keep their kids in on the school campuses. So I don't really think that interferes at all. Potentially if Omni Health came and opened up a FQHC in our valley, then that potentially could impact us, but I don't see any significant impact with the schools. Just
Okay,
my opinion.
no, thank you.
Okay, any other questions on my perceived ideas of where we shift to move everything to keep everything moving and
How do we
functional?
proceed to do what you want to do? We're not going to wait till next meeting, right?
No, Heidi's mentioned that we will pursue right away what it takes to move the license of the pharmacy over to the new address.
And
Reach out to the
then,
board of pharmacy and start those
Yeah.
conversations.
and if we need a permit, no, we're not paying taxes on the building, right?
We're tax exempt. so.
Yeah, right. Okay,
That's my understanding.
Okay, because the sign could be a factor if we were paying taxes.
Well, and I'll follow up with Scott on the sign.
I'll look at our old paperwork too, when we
Yeah.
bought the building and see if it's listed.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any difference if they need to bring it up to date or get rid of it. I mean, right? Does anybody love it being there?
I would love to see it go away. I just don't want to be a bad neighbor.
Yeah, well,
Get away.
That's my
they
only
should be a good
concern,
neighbor to
really.
fix it up.
Or maybe we help them, we'll demo it and hand it over to them and you can put it on your property.
Well, and they have a sign on Laurel.
Right.
They just, it doesn't have the visual of the one down on the highway.
And do they even know that it's really theirs?
That we don't know, because
You know,
I didn't feel it was, if we were at a point where I was ready to go talk to him.
It's got the indication that it's theirs. It's got its own power going to it. Its own meter.
It has its own feeder off of the power poles that goes directly to that sign and that sign only. And the power for the lower sign goes to the building.
Interesting.
So it's a meter, so that would
So
indicate.
it was done relatively legally at some point, whether it's a legal easement or not, that's what we need to find out. Mhm. But you are right.
Their other sign is on McCray. not Laurel.
Yeah, yes. That's what I meant. I said Laurel, but it's McCray. Yeah. Okay, so emergency generator.
Did
Go ahead.
did we decide, can you move that brush so they can start driving across there?
I can do that.
we
I
don't
just
have
don't want to
permission
get
for that
involved
yet.
in doing it.
Well, John's reaching out to the owner and let's see what she says, but we can certainly ask her, can we go ahead and clear it?
If she doesn't, because the place next door, Kevin's place, I made a deal.
Yeah.
I owned Kevin's place before I sold it to him. And I made a deal with the owner of the one right directly across the street to do exactly that. I said, look, I'll clean the brush off if I can use it. She said, hey, yeah. And a couple of years later, she called me and said, I want to sell.
If we get that approval, I'll take care
Yeah,
of it.
we can't just do something. We need.
We shouldn't just do it, but we could get permission and John's reaching out to her.
And we need it in writing, you know.
Well,
just like that.
Yeah, so.
A little one-page agreement or something.
Yeah, I mean, she's obviously a long ways away and she is not,
And who knows?
and the taxes are in arrears, so, yeah.
Well, usually around this time of the year, they start putting up those notices to start clearing the lots for fire anyway. So I mean, this would be.
Yeah,
Yeah, do her a favor. Take care of your lot.
Yeah,
I cleared my lot Saturday.
Yeah.
Mowed it.
She might own so much on it, we can't even buy it. They're not cleaning it up.
Anyway, all right, so we will continue to work on hopefully implementing something relatively quickly on retail pharmacy. Emergency generator. All right, so the first shutdown and cutover was on Friday. That moved the original hospital building onto the new generator, which eliminated the need for the rental generator and the rental transfer switch. So Monday morning, but leave a message. So Monday morning, I canceled the contract on the rental of the generator, the transfer switch, and they have already been picked up and they're gone. So we'll owe about 3/4 of a month's rent for last month or this month, and it's already gone. So, and they canceled the contract as of yesterday morning. They picked up the generator yesterday afternoon. They picked up the transfer switch this morning.
Can you send an email to Amy to that effect, just so Cassie can pay attention?
Sure.
Invoices come in,
Sure.
just with the dates on it.
All right. And then I have the paperwork that they've come and picked it up. So
Are we completely cut over? Yeah, yet?
just the first of 5 cutovers.
Okay.
So this Friday, we are cutting over all normal power for skilled nursing and dietary. And then on Monday, we're cutting over all emergency power for skilled nursing, dietary, surgery. And on the 7th, we're cutting over 5 transformers up in some buildings, at which point we should be 100% cut over. So my last cutover is scheduled for the 7th.
All right.
So at which point then we're into wrapping up loose ends and verifying and some inspections and closing the project with Oshpot. So,
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So when the next power down happens, it's not going to affect the ER?
No.
And
ER and med-surg
They're
are
done.
now 100% on emergency power.
then I don't have to call CPH.
No.
Well, I didn't know.
They don't, well, technically, the cutover on next Friday affects dietary. So they would want to notify CDPH about dietary, but it'll only be down from about 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock.
Okay, good.
So
That's after the lunch and before that.
that's why it's all scheduled around dietary's schedule.
Okay, good.
So, yeah. Anyway, they're going so far, they've gone very well. A little stressful. Don't like turning off all the power to major portions of the hospital or all of the hospital. We did on the first one. Anyway, so. But so far, so good.
Can
Yes,
I back up to the building again?
sure.
The drive-through, you might have to move the propane tank. How much, there, I think there's a lot in between. I think it's 5 feet from a restaurant is what they own. I think there's another lot there that the mother-in-law,
The parent, her parents own that lot.
or parent, yeah,
Well,
which got,
she said to me, my parents own that dirt lot between us and her.
okay, so how far over does it go? Does it go 70 feet? And do we have room?
I don't know if we have room. We might have to make a deal with her
Right.
to put the propane tank on that piece of
We
property.
put propane tanks in, we put in front all the way in front underneath.
There's a lot of options, but yes, I only say that the space between the propane tank and the building is not comfortably, safely wide enough for a vehicle to pull
But a
through.
lot of times only 5 feet. Do we have enough space for a vehicle to drive through there?
Well, currently you can drive between the propane tank and the
Is it
building.
legal?
I don't know. I mean, I would have to look up the
Look at
width
plot map.
of a driveway, but the challenge is the propane tank's got to be X amount of feet from property line. So I can't just move it over to the edge of the property line to give us lots of room because there's a
You take
setback.
one parking place in the front.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be enough.
That's what we got to look
There's a
into.
lot of different.
Yeah, there's some options, but yes, in order to create the drive-through, I think we will need to relocate the propane. Okay,
But as far as the plot map goes, you think we've got 10 feet or
I think so,
What?
but I'd have to go back and
What's
look at it
something
again.
over there now?
Probably Red Rooster.
What's that?
That propane tank, who does that serve?
No, that's our building's propane,
What do we have that is propane there now?
the heat for all 5 suites.
Oh, the heat, okay.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking they took the kitchen out.
No, but it's the heating and it has heating and air conditioning units. And the heat is propane fired.
dual packs, you know.
Yeah, they're dual packs. Just like the one on this building is no longer a dual pack. It's now a single pack because the heating unit burned out.
Yeah, we've got.
But how come the AC isn't on?
I need to check into that because the AC should still work. Because all that happened is it flamed out of the chamber and it burnt the wires on the igniter that ignites it. And we're lucky we didn't burn the trailer down.
Yeah, really.
Yes.
Is it insured?
All of our buildings. are
Asking
insured.
for a friend.
All of our buildings are insured through Factory Mutual. And they come out and do regular inspections. So, all right. But yes, we do need to find out why the air is not coming on. All right, so the generator project going very well. By mid-April, everything will be cut over, everything. I've got a little bit of seismic bracing has to be approved by HCI. And I've got some fireproofing inspections that have to be done. To bring a guy out of Fresno who's Hilti certified to inspect my fireproofing around the conduits before they go through firewalls. Just a lot of the little nitpicky stuff that HCI requires proof of everything before they will close the project. So that's where we're at on the generator. And the NPC seismic upgrade of dietary surgery and central plant buildings. Had a meeting with the architect and engineers on that last week. We spent a couple of hours going over lots of details. So out of that meeting came me getting a hold of Scott because HCI wants proof of if we put a well in for our emergency water, what volume of water are we going to get? So I've asked Scott to give me proof of the well over here at the ball field as to how much water he gets per hour out of that well. And if we drill a similar depth well, we should get about the same volume of water. So depending on how close to the sewage system we put it. No, I'm just kidding.
The closer, the closer you might go up.
Volume will come up. We'll just recirculate the water.
We never use any.
Anyway, so those are just a lot of little details of how we're going to respond to all of the NPC questions that they have of meeting it. We have to have plans. I think I put it in there. We have to have plans submitted to HCI on what we're going to do by January of 2026. So we have this year to complete our designs and drawings and get them submitted. And it's not a lot of stuff. It's bracing on fire sprinkler systems and systems above ceiling and water and sewer, et cetera. But see, our sewer treatment plant goes on emergency power. It's already on emergency power. It was in the first cutover. So it is currently on emergency power. I had to remember where it's served from. It's served from the Siemens cabinet on the back of the hospital, and that's what it does there. And that's the cabinet that we cut over on Friday. Okay. So we are already compliant that we can handle 72 hours of waste with no issue because we can handle it until we run out of diesel fuel to run the generator, which we're required for skilled nursing to have 96 hours of runtime and for acute care, 72 hours of runtime. And we have about 126 hours of runtime if our tank is full. Okay. But county's going to have to swallow hard because I got to buy about $6,700 gallons of diesel here as we wrap this project up so that the tank is full. Because this generator burns 70.1 gallons an hour at 100% load. Okay. And whereas our old ones burn like 15 gallons an hour because they're dinky generators. But we'll never be at 100% load, but we were required to put load onto the generator. So they brought out these load banks and hooked them to the generator. And we ran the generator for 2 hours at 100% capacity. It's just to verify that it will do so.
Okay.
You're never allowed to put more than 80% load on a generator by code. And so when we're all done, I expect we'll probably be in the 50 to 60% load on the generator, which means it'll only burn about 56 gallons an hour.
Only.
Do we need a GoFundMe for that?
Yeah, may need to. I don't know.
I'm surprised it doesn't need DEF.
Yes, amazingly enough, it's only a tier 2 diesel motor because we fall under the air pollution control district of the desert. I permitted 8 generators with San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District, and well, that was a nightmare. 8 generators and 2 boilers that I permitted with them. They are still much better than South Coast Air Quality Management when I was in LA. They are horrible to deal with. Anyway, so yes, so we're almost done. So we're working on the NPC seismic upgrade. The engineers are nearing completion on drawings. They just needed my input on a bunch of stuff. That's done. Dietary stove is installed. They love it. I have closure panels to make and a couple anchor bolts to install, and that project will be ready to close. The skilled nursing reclassification, we have not heard back from HCI on that one. Obviously, we haven't had time to work in dietary. It's been a little hectic. We did complete room 10 in acute care, but we still have not gotten off the restrooms. And we pretty much covered retail pharmacy as to where I'm hoping. I'm just trying to come up with a solution that's less than $1 million. I mean, it's a great concept to have a nice, big, new, beautiful building, but I think we can create what we need or less.
I think it might be nice to have them not separated from the rest of the facility. So they've got a whole nother, they've got the rest of the suite that's filled with staff.
Yeah.
That could come help them if there's a problem. They're not isolated over on their own. And he already has the building.
The advantage, if we had to expand, it would be very easy to expand from that building
We could move education to another location and they could double their space.
or reduce education, because I'm not,
Right.
we don't need to be that smart, right?
That's true. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions for Bob?
And again, I was referring to you like the group. When I got frustrated there, which includes me, I wasn't picking on you
I-
specifically.
I've learned to have a very thick skin and to not take it terribly seriously because you are one of my good supporters.
Yeah, I am.
You like to question everything, but you are a good supporter of what we do.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the invoice review and approval. This does require a board action items 1 through 8.
Motion to approve all of them.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's moved by Director Elliott, seconded by Director Parks. Is there any other discussion or anything you need to bring to our attention, Bob, or?
No, it's just that I just noticed that, again, my ability to remember numbers really sucks because I told you Bakersfield floor covering did it for 4,000 something. They did it for 3,980. We purchased the carpet tiles months before.
Yeah. So
Yes.
that includes-
This is just this is just the installation. But the installation from the locals was $6,300 to $6,600.
Okay, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay,
And the nice thing is that the generator bills are gonna start dropping off real quickly. Yeah, because that's been our big ticket items.
Has anybody been vandalizing those Tesla batteries?
Nobody has vandalized our Tesla batteries yet. I think, hopefully not.
Well, we have security.
Yes, we do.
We're doing,
we've already
stepped it up.
covered item G with the pharmacy upgrade, so.
Can we talk about it again?
Again,
I need more input from Gene.
but we'll probably put that on the next agenda, you think, for?
Yes, it will stay there because
Well,
we
at least
will,
update you on who we've reached out to, what information we have.
and hopefully have answers
I
to,
also think that there's a licensing component for that robot through the Board of Pharmacy too.
I would expect.
No, I'll be
A
darned.
lot of that stuff's taken care of. That organization will help us do all that though.
They probably help with the whole application process, like you're saying. Yeah.
Okay, with that, we are adjourned at 1:48.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Good job with all that rambling. How'd that happen?
No.